Hello, Jacob from Crypto Critics here. Tinfoil hat, not financial advice. I could be absolutely just talking out of my ass, and I guess this is going to be, while tinfoil hat's on, a bit of a rant and a bit of a theory. Now, my argument is the impulse and attraction has happened in some key stages. So I would say before, let's say, even here where it was 2.5, I'd say before about 5. Most of this market before that would have been because it was a joke to institutional investors. So at that point, I think Bitcoin was always associated, had dark reputation, not enough known about it. Media discussion was only on big events, so generally what we would hear is, the Mt. Gox or something, and then it would blow over in 5 days and you wouldn't hear any more about it. So before, I would say around about September, it's mainly the traditional adopters using it, the miners, the true believers. And yeah, there would have been some speculators and amongst it all making some money, but nothing like it is today. Now, the argument that I'm hearing is, this is a normal dip. No, it's not. This is $400 billion being smacked off the face of the earth, with a lot more people feeling the pain. So, at the beginning, it was early adopters, and I reckon, to be honest, some of that would have been a lot of mining and stuff. So people wouldn't have been losing heaps. In fact, any selling at that time would have been some nice profit. But I would say there's been a trap set ever since about 5 to 7.5k. So around about September, between JP Morgan and the media change that's happened, and especially in our country, I'm from Australia. Before, as I said, you'd hear about the very occasional events. And then after the JP Morgan fear, which was kind of, yes, it was well pushed throughout, even most of our, I wouldn't say less than ethical news channels. So, look, we've got a state-sponsored, I wouldn't say state-sponsored, sounds like Korea, but we've got a public channel, the ABC, and the rest of them are all owned by big players. So I imagine advertising revenue, especially out here, is short, so any story is a good story, especially if someone else may be influencing the reason why that story is going out. So at that time, JP Morgan, a few things going through the channels, starting to ripple through the news a little bit as a fear campaign. China does the FUD, and they successfully brought the price kind of nearly halfway down, from 5,000 to about 2,900. Now that's a pretty good chance to buy in. If you're starting to see, especially these guys, they would have been seeing the writing on the wall. If you draw your trend line further and further, they might have seen the writing on the wall a little earlier. So they probably wanted to, and I will do that. I'll just out of curiosity, I'm going to drag that longer, because I think it crosses over some significant areas. So maybe they were having a look at something like this at the time and thinking, this is not looking good either way. The projection starts to look sharp. Let's put some bloody FUD out there, and off we go. Now, they probably knew that the FUD was a temporary thing. They know about the hold. They know about the community's die-hard attitude. It's on every Facebook channel, it's on every YouTube channel. Buy the dip, hold, buy the. These guys are going to laugh at you. They're going, all right, we can buy a bit here, do a bit there, buy a bit here, do a bit there, sell a lot here, and that's what I'm going to theorise has kind of happened. So between the time frame here when JP's, and I think it was about the 13th of September that JP opened his stupid mouth. And between there, he would have kind of made it come down nearly 30-40%. And it's not just him, it's China. And I'm not saying JP went out in cash, but look, the tone was very negative. And then when that kind of settled off, all of a sudden it started to be a little bit more upbeat. That channel started to put more positive spins on it. They were starting to talk about all the Bitcoin millionaires, and for me, the sentiment definitely did change. It was away from fear in the media to, oh wait up, this is great opportunity, and if you're not in it, you're missing out. And that's what kind of blew me away. It was it was almost the media went bipolar. Now again, I still suggest that the influence behind the media is bigger than maybe what the media sees it, but maybe there was just puppets in this case. But either way, up here is where you can see just a lot of hype going off. Alright, now it starts to pick up, hits another significant level, 7,500, and I think that to be argued, maybe it just needed a little bit of a push. So anyone that had a good buy in here, maybe just needed at 7.5, just give it that little flick in the ear, and it comes down. Comes down to a significant level of, five-ish, 5.5. Yep, 5.5, and then you get a real big spit, a nice, beautiful buy, all the way through. Now, again, this is where I'm suggesting media connotations is shifted, and what I've noticed is it's a retrospective thing up to this point, and I guess you can't call it until it's completed. But once it's completed, have a look. That big impulse all the way up to 20, when you draw your fib, it just hits some pretty key areas, some good profit taking areas. And this is what starts me wondering if institutional, TA kicks in as the media tone, because someone's pushing the happy mums and dads. They all think they're going to retire. Please sell your house. Yep. Don't tell your wife, and bang. This is the problem. I reckon all the way up through here, it's moderate volume. And then it touches the 786, and there's a sharp sell-off. And then it touches back on 5, and now it would have been a quick buy up. And again, I don't know. They might have had this in them, whoever had this beautiful round figure of nearly 20 grand to stop at. And it couldn't have been 17, couldn't have been 16. It just, all these nice little psychological points get kicked off along the way. And while the psychological points get touched off on the way, these little fib support and resistance levels are tested all the way through. And this is where I started getting the initial concern. Around about when it came down, and this is significant if it comes down like this far, I was already iffy. Then it bounced up, and I wasn't intending to buy in. I didn't have any attitude of buying in. In fact, I did a video. This is around the, what is it, 14th? Let's have a look. Yeah, I did a video, and I've been watching the market, and I haven't bought in because I didn't like where the trend was going. And I did a video here on the 14th when it touched a lot of, even Litecoin. They're all following the same fib patterns. It touched this, and I was almost thinking if it broke that, off we go. But I sat back and I shorted. And as you can see, the short on Litecoin or Bitcoin would have been nice. It just raises some questions. This is a very far-reaching, we're looking at 3-4 months of a graph to come up with a pattern. And everyone seems to be looking here. And all I've heard lately is, oh, you should buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. Wouldn't that have been a painful adventure? So, okay, yeah, we've bought out here, and we're going to try and liberalise, or we're going to try and even out, average out our loss, because that's what you're doing. You're not acknowledging that you bought at the wrong time, but you're going to try and average out your loss. So you buy the dip, and you think, woo, look at this, I'm so smart, and it bounces up. It starts to drop again. Now, again, it's still only testing this area, but when it comes up here and it tests, and it's, let me scroll out, I think that's a 786, yeah, it tests that 786, but never breaks back again. In other words, it's kind of got there, fallen a few levels, kind of got there, and now it's gone. It's like the confidence is starting to come out of the market, especially if you've bought in at 20, and you're seeing your investment already down 25-30%, and these people are inexperienced people. So at the time of the day, I reckon anyone smart would have been doing this. Alright, then you would have had the dumbass people going, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. And yeah, they did. They gave it a good go. This is the first real rejection. And they pumped their money in. Well, okay, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. Yep, alright, we'll buy the dip one more. Because, you know, once bitten, twice shy. But this is crypto and we're pretty stubborn buggers. So they buy the dip, they buy the dip, they buy the dip. And in the meantime, finance guys are going to be thinking, Jesus, every time this thing touches, we can scale out again and again and again. And once these guys get tired of buying the dip, and we've scaled out, there's not much real support. You start seeing the volume kind of drag off. So what I've noticed is, and this is my argument, is volume has been lacking big time. Look at these. You know, look at your average. Yes, this is above the average now because chaos is coming back, and this is, you know, a few people obviously panic selling, and this is the buy the dippers. I still think because of the way it's touching all these fibs, and it's respecting, you know, here all the way through to here, seems to be some traction points. I still think, 5.5 is realistic, definitely realistic. And then if this happens, and the reason why I'm saying this happens is because there's still some stuff to come out. Like at the moment, there's some pretty bad sentiment. There's a competition between buy the dippers and actual people going, look, this is not looking good. This is not looking good. Now, even as if you look at some other levels, don't keep looking at just the market because Bitcoin relies on other things. Where's our? Oh, I had one. Give me a second. Well, we'll bring one up anyway. Oh, there it is. Bitcoin mining graph. Excuse me. This would have attracted a lot of investment, I imagine. Some people would have seen this going up thinking, beautiful, I'm going to buy lots of Bitcoin equipment. And then the profits now coming down. The difficulty would be still pretty significant, I'd imagine, because that equipment, a lot of new equipment will be on the air. So what happens when this becomes an issue? So the equipment people start going, no, we can't afford to keep the miners going. Now you might be going, yeah, this is the tinfoil hat here. My problem is that all it takes is another couple of pushes, another fear campaign, another bit just to make mum and dad and all those investors between September and December really just go, nah, that's it, I'm out, I'm not coming back, I'm done. How do you make someone fold their cards? You attack the infrastructure, you attack their reputation. So my figure is this bloke, and this is what I wrote it down, I'm happy to go, yeah. There's my hypothesis on crappy, yeah. But that's what happens when you wear tinfoil hats. Mind you, since I've worn it, the headache stopped. This bloke here is a toss. You can see how he chimes in at significant times. Okay? So this is what's got me fucking thinking. Now, I didn't know about this story because this only came out 6 hours ago. But last night, 18 hours, 20 hours ago, I wrote down that all that needs to happen now is a restriction of fiat or a restriction of new money in the market to resurge it. And there was tinfoil hat. And this was what I and I was only going to look at the JP Morgan thing just to check out what date that happened in September to see if it correlated against the graph. And guess what? Look, this seems to be an attitude now. We're going to see banks, and remember these guys control or have influence in banks all across the world. So Bank of America spokesman said in an email, the bank has decided to decline credit card now. This could be all FUD, and I don't want to spread FUD, but I do want to suggest a tin hat theory. If they can block new supply coming in, basically it's going to be, problem is the only people who are going to need to sell are those who are still hooked between 7.5 and 20,000. There's not going to be new money. And those people that bought above what the price is going to be aren't going to be willing to sell unless it's at loss. And it's going to be significant loss. So these bastards are going to probably create a scenario where they can reduce fiat coming into the market. And then what's also worrying me at the same time is there seems to be more of attention on Tether. And the Tether issue was, a few months ago? December the 6th, but they're going to regurgitate that shit because Now we're starting to look at reasons to regulate and restrict access of money back into the market. That's the only thing you buy the dip is the reason why this is happening. They're going to stop you from buying the dip because really what they want is regulated people buying the dip. Now, again, tinfoil hat, but between killing the profits for the miners, attacking the infrastructure, restricting the fiat inflow, and if they really want to be pricks, outflow of fiat or outflow out of these markets to exchanges back into bank accounts. Yeah, there's a storm coming, and I haven't even finished yet. My fear is there's a lot of shit still coming in. Again, they know about our buy the dip attitude. That's the problem. The volume at the moment, there's not enough volume to stop what's happening. And if it hits 5, fear's going to happen. And at that point, I think, based on my idea, if it's 8 here, 5 would be, oh crikey, yeah, it's not going to be good. Mining, again, this is where I've also suggested, look what's been positioned in the last few months as almost an alternative, XRP. I'm not saying that is real left field shit, but it feels like they're going to attack Tether, and they will. I'm sure they're going to have something to say against Tether, because that's the only, if you look at the market volume in the last couple of days, the top 3 coins, let's go to it, currency. Mind you, those who've got access to fiat at the moment and didn't buy the bloody dip, we'll go into that, but, or who'll have liquidity, we're laughing. Look, top 3 coins. It's like that yesterday, it was like that today. Our friend Tether is getting a pummeling, and it's already having question marks over it. And surely I'm worried once Bitcoin starts to come down to 7.5, maybe, and then down to 5, Tether's going to come under more scrutiny because of the amount of inflow. It's either going to go through Tether or it's going to go in fiat. Now, if I really wanted to prick, they'll try and block the fiat withdrawals at banks and whatnot, but I don't think they will. I think they want their money back. But I'd be watching the Tether space. Now, look again, our friend Ripple. And I suggest Ripple's got a fairly good show on the media lately. It's not evil. Bitcoin is for drug dealers and terrorists, and it'll get someone killed. I've never heard Ripple really mentioned in that same reference. So again, this is what I'm saying, is between some technical analysis and maybe just putting on the bullshit detector and having a look at what's going on, you might go, oh, my confidence is not buy the dip. I am not buying the freaking dip. I am very concerned of it hitting 5,500. Once it hits 5,500, I think if they can restrict that, it's going to be a long time. So people who bought here, the argument is a bull is slower than a bear. Not technically though, but a bear can destroy a market in moments, and it can take a bull a long time to come back and repair it. So yes, a lot of people saying if you don't believe in the technology, la la la. To be honest, most of these people between, I would suggest 7.5 onwards, didn't really know what the technology was. They just knew there was the media telling them to buy. Okay. Now, again, as I said, that's all part of my tinfoil hat. I'm going to quickly go through my so, and again, they don't care if you hold. You hold, that's great, because once they drive that price down and it takes forever to come back up, the only people that are going to, it's sellers that are going to, if someone has to buy and someone has to sell, and if people don't want to sell because they bought a shitload here, who's going to be selling back here? Who's going to be buying? As I said, I'm a bit interested. I'm happy. Anyone else, flick out a message, subscribe, like. As I said, it's all part of my tinfoil hat, and I think really it's the early adopters that might still have big pockets and big coins that may be able to revive the market, but or one chain. I still have a hope for one chain to come out at the end of March, I think, and maybe reignite some positivity back in the market. But if the restriction of fiat and all that starts to occur, especially if these banks influence internationals like our banks, and what we have noticed, and Australia can vouch for this, it's becoming a little bit more difficult to be able to deposit money into exchanges. So we used to have a system called poly payments at one significant exchange, and the last couple of months it's been a little bit more difficult. Now the exchange itself has resolved it, but again, it's just this little just pushes and shoves that will eventually add up to, I think, being a regulation. Australia is very lucky. We haven't got a regulation yet, but I can guarantee you this year the ATO is going to be setting some rules, and I think the government's going to be listening to them. Now, I'm going to have my argument about this. Forget the graph. We'll be fucked. Alright, that's my argument. We'll be fucked to 5,500. Those who took skimp profits, did smart attitudes, didn't buy the dip, because as I said, we're looking at, and have a look at these dips. Buy 1 dip, 2 dip, 3 dip, 4 dip. Man, my wife would have shot them. I'd be hung out, because all I'm doing here, and this is where we lead into it, no segue, why I don't like buy the dip. Alright, all this, what do they call it, equalisation or rationalisation, or either way, first things first, you're not acknowledging you made a mistake. If something went wrong, stop. Don't keep compounding into it, and that's all the suggestion does, is compound more money into it. I would say, look, if I said, and I hope, for all those who bought and did right thing and can afford to lose what they've got, fine. But there's some people out there who went and did some fucking stupid shit. Alright? So, my issue is buy the fucking dip. Alright, not going to work because it just keeps getting pummeled. There's not enough volume, the dip keeps coming, and by the end of it all, it's burnt, and your resources are now committed to one thing. You're correcting one mistake, and that mistake was set earlier on, and all you focused on is trying to cancel out that debt by adding more debt to it. It makes no sense. If you've got spare fiat to burn, wait. I would happily wait for this thing, even if it turned now. If it went from 8,000 to 10 and started breaking at least a 0.5, I'm happy to wait. You know why? Because I'm not losing anything right now. I'm not invested in Bitcoin. I have got some other coins, but they're all ICO coins, and most of those ICO coins I've stripped significant profit at peak. So they're play money, and that's a beautiful place to be. There's no fear when you've done that and you've done it right. You've got it, and I say I have maybe 20 ICO coins that are pretty decent for me, and I've stripped away profit. I may have 1 or 2 that aren't doing well, and they're not doing bad, but they're just not doing as well. Like the rest are at least 300%, and above, and that's after profits. So to invest into all your eggs into one basket is just crazy shit. So it should be a learning point. You should learn, sit back and think what went wrong. Did you use a technical analysis wrong? And again, I'm happy for someone to correct my graph. I'm happy to learn. Being stubborn doesn't help, but opening yourself up to new influences, and that's what got me out of this. I will make a shout out. The bloke I know has basically changed me. So I was like most people: hold, buy the dip, don't let go. Allegiance to the death, join the cult, suppo man. That shit was poisonous, and it still is. There's still a lot of people out there with some poisonous information, and especially for the new people that haven't learned or just susceptible to bullshit. It's poisonous. It's poisonous. It's poisonous. So you sit back and go, what happened? Did I listen to some idiot, or was it a mistake I made? If I made a mistake, where can I learn? How do I correlate it better? Sit back and learn from your losses and cheer your gains. But buying a dip just means you're going to maybe have another loss, and you're just sticking your finger in the wind going, whoa, I might win this one. And especially if you sat there and it hit the 20 and you waited for this dip to 12 and a half, and then you bought. just to correct your stuff up 20. You're down a significant amount already. You're probably down a quarter to 30, 40%. And then you're trying to buy your leverage out your profit. You're trying to get out of your mistake by buying it up. And all you've done is, by buying it back up, touched another significant point that institutional investors have probably gone, yeah, beautiful, bang, this whole thing here is a bull trap from hell. And so, again, buy the dip. You guys just didn't learn here. So they sold off, and then you bought the dip, and then they pisses me off. I'm sorry. Your return, ROI is probably best focused either waiting for it to bottom out, and even if you miss it, let's say it bottoms out at 5 and it bounces back to 7, and you miss that you charge between 5 and 7. That's got to be better than pouring money all the way from 20, 12. 7. It's got to be better. Your return on investment is better if you're not when you're leveraging out, but when you've hit bottom even if you hit 20. All right. And then you can go, yeah, I'm going to buy out and leverage and average it out here. No, you're better off buying it at the bloody absolute when it's been kicked in the nuts, and that's it. When the fear is absolutely real. Now, if you're really invested, that's when you'll buy. Because if you put, let's say you got 10 grand here and 10 grand there, with a bit of luck, you might have 10 grand in the middle, maybe 12. But you're not going to be pouring 10 grand here, already in shit. Another 10 grand. You've committed to your debt, and you've just all you've done is reduced your ratio of each other loss, if that makes sense. You've got to incur a loss from dipping here to here, and that loss won't be as large as the loss you've incurred from here to here, and that loss won't be as large as the one you've incurred from here to here. It just doesn't make sense, people. Why are we doing this? Alright, what you should have done is, when you bought in here, and I know this is my rude thing, if something goes up 45%, a degree of 45% or more, and looks like everyone's going to ride it, get some lube, get the hell out. So I was kind of like, this is like a big pecker that I just don't want to be caught riding. But the media did the beautiful job of bringing it in all the mainstreamers, and you hear it, all the exchanges. There's that backlog that they're now imposing 10k minimums before you can basically get involved. Oh shit! People are knocking at the door to throw their money away at the moment. As I said, I'd rather have a little loss than commit more as well. There's plenty of room between all-time highs and what there's going to be low is, so I'll just wait for the low. There's probably better options, ICOs or something like that, where you might make some better returns. Instead of putting that money into something to try and leverage out your debt, maybe put it in a good ICO that's going to give you some good return to increase your capital. Look at focusing on your capital. If you've still got money in your hand, I would not be pouring it into something that's still coming down. I would probably be more inclined, again, it's not funny, I'd be more inclined to throw it in an ICO or two, especially like something like One Chain. I put a little bit of dollars in One Chain. It hasn't been released. It's going to be kind of sheltered from this bullshit until March, and hopefully if the market hits 5.5 by March, if it does, it'll dust, and whatever the direction is going to be, it'll be done before the end of March. And One Chain will come out, and maybe that's One Chain being smart, and hopefully we'll be able to set its own trend outside of what's going on here, and maybe we'll see a bounce off from 5.5. But if they restrict fiat, we be fucked. Alright. New issue, less capital. As I said, I'd rather keep my capital for better opportunities and just keep chucking in. Don't worry. This is me just going off my nut. Alright. But at the same token, you can't blame the banks. You can't blame anyone else. This is all kind of mastery. And it's a tinfoil hat. I'm going to take this off because it is freaking warm. But as I said before, I've never felt so clear. It was like, whoo. And that's the same thing. Look, this is Bitcoin. Now, I'm going to throw out, as I say, Bitcoin. My analysis has always been it's going to touch 8.8. I've been calling it out for the last 3-4 weeks. And I still think 5.5 is definitely on the card, especially between the 7.5 and the 5.5 channel. If it doesn't hold at 7.5 and keeps making its ugly way ass down, then 5.5 is definitely on the cards. Again, that kind of brings it back before this stuff. It will be interesting to see if the kind of... That's before this big inflow. So imagine if the inflow that's still maybe locked around, small amounts might keep it moving. If they restrict fiat, I'm worried about that. If they kill Tether, if they kill fiat, I'm really concerned. Having an opportunity to combine to something that's backed by gold or something a bit more less volatile would be beautiful. The Perth MIP, I think, are talking about something like that in 18 months. Here's what I'm going to do with some of my spare fiat. I'm going to buy some ETH at some nice new prices. And I'm going to chuck into this art block sale. I imagine anyone that's... it'll be interesting also, at least on another point, where a lot of the pre-sales and sales have been closed because of the price hike in Ethereum. I would be... And it hits the mark, the hard cap before... Because of the rise between 500 to 1,000, the hard caps for a lot of these places were hit by the pre-sale themselves maturing over time before the main sale. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Ethereum comes back to 400, which I'll go into. If everything comes down, Ethereum will come back between 6 and 400. If Ethereum comes back to 400, that's going to be a fire sale. But for those who haven't liquidated out of the ICO sales yet, have they burnt the tokens? What are they going to do? Will they... And again, that'll be interesting because the market cap for these buggers will probably drop too, so there might be some really good buying opportunities for ICOs that are finished, yet to be listed or to be listed, because that's got to kill their market cap as well. So I'm having a look at some ICOs. And while we're on a quick topic, Polymath. I love free tokens. I gave these guys grief because one of the developers is from a project that I have seen little traction from, called Chronologic. Now, I like the idea, and have a look at one of my other videos about Chronologic. It's about mining, or minting as they call it, based on time. So it's an interesting concept. Like it, I think it suits the bond market, interest-based markets and stuff like that. I love anything that interfaces with finance systems. But Polymath is another one where they're going to have a security token launching system and those things. But I didn't like it because one of the guys from there was on a project that I don't like, or not I like, but hasn't really done much. And when I politely queried in Telegram about it, they blocked me. I said, what's this Tosh Sharma doing here? He hasn't done much in the other project. What's his association? And that's all it was, and I got blocked. So that raised some eyebrows. But guess what? I still filled out the crap, and I got my tokens. And now if you look at it, that's about 200, because I gave us 250 tokens. So that's about $200 for nothing. Now I could sell that off, but again, it's for nothing. So I might let it go. If the market comes down to 5.5, then this will come down, and maybe I might sell it off. I'll and have a think about it, but I can't be greedy here. Something for nothing, and that's what I always remember. I bought in July. I hit some pretty significant money, over 1,400%. It's come down about maybe 800% of my initial, but I've already taken out my initial, so I'm not worried. I can sit back and play, because as I said, everything I had a chance to, I scaled out of when I had profit and let the rest slide. Programs like District X, 0x, they were beautiful projects. They increased my capital heaps by cashing out. Not the whole lot, because I still believed in it. And I did cash out 0x after some time. Not 0x, District 0x, District DNT anyway. But I'm still holding 0x. Kyber, there's a few good projects out there that I believe in. I invest in them. I strip some cash out of it when they do well, because they do. And if you pick your quality, then you can build your capital. And when the shit hits the fan, because you've still got floating capital, you're always building that capital and keeping this currency in your wallet fattening out. When the shit hits the fan like now, I've got twice what I ever started with already there in liquid form, ready to go like a bull out of a gate. I don't have to worry about buying the dip. And buy the dip is for those who didn't take a profit-taking strategy. and it's suicide. So, and the stupid thing is, there are still big commentators saying, buy the dip, buy the dip. Fuck, buy the dip. Hold your money. Admit you fucked up and move on. Don't sell, because that's when you actually lose. But maybe if you look for something else with better ROI, return on investment in the short term, instead of trying to prop up and trying to catch a falling knife. Arc block. Can't wait. I bought into missed wheat power down it. Not because the timings always kills us. I got into again. Don't forget about this bloke. There's going to be shit still coming out in the future. And what else? Origin Trail. Look, there's some good projects I like. I'm just keeping an eye on it. I've always been comparing Matrix, because I've said Matrix always felt wrong to me, and Origin Trail felt like a half reasonable thing, and I just want to track their progress over time. So these are my two guinea pigs, and this is my little experiment. Something that was full of PhD dudes and whatever, and the blockchain 3.0 didn't really have a working product. But I want to compare it against something like Origin Trail, which has a product somewhat there, 3/4 of the way there, has a real life practical use for using it. It's not just a chain; it's actually a use of a product. So, this is just my pet thing. I'm gonna buy into, and I will say this: I will buy into Origin Trail if it comes low enough for me to go, okay. But I'm still waiting for BTC to hit 5.5. I think, depending on the sentiment coming out from the markets, from the media, it's going to be hugely influenced. Well, I clicked on the wrong one. I want to show you my Litecoin. Come on, Sesame. I'll finish off after this. So I'm just going to go through some of my analysis. Now remember, Bitcoin is the focus. You'll hear a bit about Ethereum. And the weird thing is, as I said, I've heard people who haven't really, spoken to about the subject. In fact, I didn't even know they knew something about the subject, asking me about Ripple. So you can almost feel like, the markets are shifting. This is my Litecoin projection, and I've always said around about, I think I called it. And you can see my video on the 14th of Jan when I did the fib versus FOMO, where it touched the level, and I was like, oh, should I buy? It looks like it's going to crack it. And then I held off and shorted, and I made some money. And that kind of led me to start really using fib across many of the graphs. And it's just about finding the right time frame, I think. If you find the right time frame, you find these things just, you see, boom, boom, boom. You see, even over here, boom, and look at that, how beautiful. Oh, wait up, that might be the buy sell. Yeah, that's the next level is here. I've got my buy. I've got a small buy position at 80, because I still think 80 is going to be a bargain. It's like saying with Bitcoin, it's 5.5. 80 is going to be a bloody bargain, and again, I would still wait for it to touch up on, and this is where it gets really interesting, because it really, on both of the graphs, it starts to go, the retraction, all the way up here, and the retrace goes, looks like it has potential not just to hit the original point of origin, but it could potentially break off more. So this is where I probably would. I would buy a small position. This is me, not financial advice. When it hits 85-ish, wherever that last support line is, and it's not a big position, it's a small one, because I'm still got a fair bit of liquid currency if it drops more. Because then if it drops more, I have a decision. If it's still dropping more by that time, it might not be good looking. If it decides to pick up, then great, alright, cool, we might see a rebound from there. But it all depends. There's a lot of gullible people out there, and a lot of people with self-serving interests, from the commentators to the media to institutions. And I think at the time, what I need to say is, it's time for people to have their own understanding of this. Don't follow others. As I said, this whole thing is just a ramble, and I'm happy if something makes sense. I sent this off to someone who I really valued their opinion the other day, and he's good. Like, he's makes more money in a day than I make in, oh, let's say I'm still trying to catch up, alright? And I sent him my analysis on Bitcoin and LTC, and this was done about a week ago, and he said, wow, that even looks more bearish than even his graph suggested. And that's how I've been reading it. There is no signal, there's no confirmation that this is over yet. Anyone saying otherwise is literally sticking their finger up the arse and hoping. So at the end of the day, you better, it's what's the saying, better to run away and live to fight another day. You know, if you got fear, hold it. Don't buy the dip just yet. And if it does correct, look at the all-time highs. There is plenty of wiggle room. You can buy in anywhere between, for example, Litecoin. You can buy anywhere between now and 330 and know that eventually, with some time and some patience, you might get there. And this is what I'm going to say. The decoupling of Bitcoin is also an issue for me, because Bitcoin is the focus of all attacks at the moment. And this is I really see this as an opportunity for the likes of Ripple and, I hate to say this, fucking Roger Ver and BCH. If the infrastructure and their reputation is damaged and those two somehow skirt past it, Ethereum's going to be the last community coin that it's hard to attack, because you can't say it's used to a drug dealer. It's it's a different kind of coin. You think I haven't, and I've got to hear this. Has anyone heard of a direct attack in the media on Ethereum? Let me know. But what I've heard is positive stuff about Ripple, negative connotations about Bitcoin. What I'm hoping is amongst all this, something like Charlie Lee can raise the profile of Litecoin as a viable option too. I'd rather see the top spots owned by community coins than Ripple any time of the day. But if they continue to attack Bitcoin and its infrastructure, Ethereum will overtake it. I think it's inevitable. I think Ethereum will overtake it. The Bitcoin being decoupled is an issue, and I mentioned this in a video the other day about a ICO that's going to be launching their stock, and they're going to peg Bitcoin against metals, and I said, well, there's a risk for that. I don't think Bitcoin is going to be the long-term couple. It won't be the standard pairing. Who knows? But watch that space. The Satoshi, I don't measure in Satoshis, I measure in dollars, because at the end of the day, when I'm running for cover, that's what I'll be taking my money out in, and when I'm paying for my house, that's when I'll be paying my money in. Except for now in Australia, I can buy some nice fancy cars, but I guess the moment I do so, I'm up for trouble. The tax man will know. So, and this is what I'm saying, the regulation is going to come in, especially in our countries. A shout out to a New Zealand guy. I think, you've got to correct me, but New Zealand's been pretty cozy with cryptocurrencies. I have heard apparently that Cryptopia or the New Zealand Tether equivalent is being stopped at Cryptopia, so maybe that might be the reverse. And this is what I'm saying, I'm not bullshitting people, but to attack the inflow and maybe the outflow of currency, stop what they want you to, because at the moment if you reinvest in another currency, you're still following the same trend. If you put it into a pegged fiat currency, whether it be token or whatever, you've sheltered yourself from the storm, and they can't let you keep doing that. Yeah, it's a Tether, and well, again, New Zealand Tether I think's been killed, and shout out to the bloke, put out a message for me. Confirm that if you can, because you're a local down there. But yeah, I think the attack is ongoing. But I would love to see Bitcoin back here. Oh yeah, not Bitcoin, Litecoin. Another one I've been umming and ahhing about. Again, I'm looking at quality coins now. Coins that have a place, and LTC had a place when this whole anarchy happened with especially when the pump and the dump at 20 for Bitcoin happened. Bitcoin backlog was huge. The amount of capital locked in pending transactions was off the chart. And guess who come out on top? Litecoin. Cardano. I love my Cardano. I love anything that I'm not in it just yet. I'm looking. And you can watch a video where only a few weeks ago where I said I'm still not ready to buy in yet. I would be looking you know, Jesus, imagine if it came back here and impulsed slowly over time, because these boys have got some stuff to do, and their stuff is white paper material. It's not white paper material. It's university peer-reviewed material. So there's a few out there. Look at IOTA. It's down $2 or less. It's a meat market. This almost is coming down to July prices for me, and that's when I come in, and I'm happy to rinse and repeat with the tether I've made on the side. So I'm still looking. I reckon, God, if Bitcoin comes down, you're going to see some really low prices for Cardano. But these are coins I love. I keep bloody doing this. Give me a second. Ethereum, this is a worry, but good. Because as I said, it's going to screw over some ICOs in the meantime. Let's draw that out better. Alright. Oh, come on, you bugger. And this is the hard tricky bit. Trying to find your nice happy spots where you can. I'll take that. Remember, it's about time too. So I actually, what I find is if I use time, bigger the time frame, the more you can have a look to see if it matches up. See, I'm almost confident about that one. And this is where it starts to concern you again. So if my confidence says, look, 640 for Ethereum, correct me if I'm wrong, but especially around here, it starts to track and close and just fits the mold nicely. Yep. So look, anywhere between, oh Jesus, it did do well this morning though. I was pretty rapt about that. I'm not in it yet, but look, if it's still on its way down, it could happily come back to the 600 mark anyway. Now I know that people love the evening stars and morning stars, and I wake up the morning glory every night, but that kind of stuff can be easily impacted, especially when this 6-hour news story comes out and probably starts circling through the presses. So it looks like they've aimed at it, and it's going through here. They've touched the 236 level. And when was this? How was that bit? So when do we close? I haven't got close time, but if this is a 12-hour and we're still halfway in the close, and that's 6 hours, who knows what would happen. Look, that noise, as I said, that noise coming from JP Morgan, I'm sure it's going to start filtering through the channels very soon if it hasn't already. And then it's going to be back to that community buy the dip. So, look, I'm sure there'll be some manipulation here by ICOs trying to, especially if they have confirmation somewhere that a lot of this currency is about to dip out. There might be some buying and selling going on. Mind you, look at that. That's a nice bit of volume right there. And Ethereum has somehow just held its head high in amongst this madness, and I will say that Ethereum just seems to be a little bit better off, and it seems to come back better. So I think what happened on the other graphs is it touched this level and they come back down, whereas it came back a little bit higher, and I know people that were happy about that because I let them open up some shorts again, and away they went down, and I'd be happy to see what they're doing with their shorts right about now. I shorted Ripple, made about 20-35% already, but I'm only using little money. I don't use money I can afford to lose. This is just fun and learning. Next one, so I still think Ethereum has room to boogie on down, and look, it's just come through the 750 mark again. Nice psychological areas. I imagine because a lot of institutional investors don't like doing round numbers, I like to just get in before the round number. because everyone, it's just a human thing to hit 700, 750, whereas they might do 706, 703, just enough to be able to do their action before you. But if it comes back down to, and look, I'm happy to be even slightly killed it off, but 700 to 640 is still on the cards. And again, I'm saying this, and I'm happy to be as wrong as shit, and I'm hoping some people come and prove me right or wrong. But I guess the best thing you can do is actually put your dick out there and say, well, manly stick neck out, we'll either get it chopped off or get noticed. So I'm just putting it out there because I see a lot of people going, buy more, mindless shit, mindless shit. You know what, you can't be wrong when you say that stupid shit. What I want, look at that shit. Oh, yeah, woohoo! Now, again, the argument could be had where the impulse starts and finishes. Let's draw it up again, because always revisit these things too. Draw a graph, do your shit. If it doesn't, yeah, in a few days' time, relook. You can, even if you just look just at the graph itself and go, is there a pattern? Is there something more tangible? See, there's almost a reasonable trajectory here, and then it's just a bit more sideways here. So you can almost think that maybe because IOTA's already been dumped like yesterday's girlfriend, maybe it's gonna hold up a bit better. What time frame are we up to? 4 hours. Let's bring it up to 12. So I always like to bring longer time frames into the picture. I'm not a short time frame person. I like to get context. And I guess one of the nice sayings I heard someone say is always look to the left. So, and I like that. I think that makes freaking perfect sense. Alright, let's do our shit here. Come on. Come on. And this is the argument, where's the impulse start? And this is what scares me, is this is probably a graph of what is going to occur with Bitcoin and other coins. I think IOTA already got a kick in the nuts well before everything happened, and because of that, IOTA's already bled enough to the point where I think it'd be interesting to see what happens with it. But you can see the activity compared to the others is a little bit less. Yeah, it's still got a fair bit of volume around here, and you can imagine, woohoo, and then it's just tapered off. But as I said, I already think it's had a kick in its nuts. And look at this. This is so low. It's below the original starting point in December. So even if let's actually we might stretch this out. This is going to be interesting. It can't be that much lower. So this is one I am watching. I could say some really crude things. Has bled more. Now let's stretch it out like that. Let's say that's its low point. From the original impulse. And this is what I like. You got to kind of have that look at things. Because sometimes things just yeah. I would say no, she's cactus. I had as I say, it's come well down. So what's the low at the moment? Because it's not so in comparison. This is the thing. Graphs misleading. You think, yeah, it's extra low and I can't lose much. Well, you have potential to lose more because the distance between $2 and $1 is, yeah, a lot more than maybe $12 to $10 in that sense, if you get what I mean. But, yeah, look, I still got my eyes on IOTA. I think that's going to be a good returner. Again, not financial advice. IOTA, I'm never really, I like Bitcoin, but look, I'm always concerned about it. Ethereum, because of its need, I'll use it. Neo, because of its need, I'll need it. They're ICO currencies. They have a purpose at the moment. I won't get rid of any of them. And in fact, that's the kind of stuff I tend to look at buying more at less price, because that's the stuff that gets put into ICOs and builds up my capital. But yeah, look, that's my bet. 0x, love 0x. But actually, I'm gonna see. I'm gonna try something. There's one I like, and it's called. Oh yeah, there it is. We'll make it simple. This is a very little coin. And this is okay. This is shilling, so you can switch off now. I'm finished. I'll finish off after this, guys. And thank you for subscribe. You don't like to listen, but Horizon State, voting on the blockchain, Aussie mob, very active on LinkedIn. Got a small a partnership with the UN. Not sure exactly how that plays out, but I always like this. I can't wait for these guys to pick up. It'd be interesting. I reckon they're one of the coins to watch over next 6 months, 12 months. Origin Trail is another one I also like because it gets used for real world use. It's end-to-end supply chain tracking and accountability. And, I'm not into Matrix. I hate. And apart from that, let's have a quick look. Waves is one I am big on. I'm waiting for that to come down. I reckon let's have a quick look at Waves. I bought Horizon State at 50 cents. No. And that's the thing, is you just got to time your runs. I admittedly left Waves, Horizon State till after the ICO, because I kind of was waiting for it to establish some credibility. Let's see if we can. Hate how it. And that's the thing. I'm going to start coupling my currency against ETH and not Bitcoin. Are we up to a 4-hour chart? Let's take it back. Again, I always take it back because context is a big picture. Come on. See, this one's a different one. It's a beast. So where's its impulse? Love this grass. Okay, let's just sort that one out. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I'm still waiting for Waves. I think it was catching up on $6. Look, I'm hearing good stories from people in right places. And I'm not going to say that I know hedge fund managers or anything. I guess I do. I know one. But that ain't telling me much. They just say, look, we like these coins, we like those coins, they have a purpose. So yeah, I'm interested in Waves. Be nice if it comes back to 4, and I'll probably buy a heap then. And this is me. I spread out my, and that's what I did to start off. I'll spread out my my tether, as long as it doesn't get screwed. I've still got some fiat that's in the exchange. I've just got stuff covered in case one gets taken down. I've still got a way to move it another way. So Waves hits 4, I'll be putting buy orders in. If Litecoin hits 80, I'll be buying some. If it hits 50, I'll be a lot more intrigued. Especially all it takes is Charlie Lee to make it a better alternative to Bitcoin, and away we go. Ripple, I don't touch it at the barge pole. That's a personal belief. I just anything that charges you 20 Ripple to maintain a wallet, each wallet you want to have access to is fucked. Polymath, that's free coin. So yeah, look, I've made my tin hat theory. I've done my touch up. I've put my calls out there for these coins. I made a recommendation well, not a recommendation. I've suggested something to have a look at. Do your own research, but it's a cool coin. Don't go crazy at it at the moment because everything's going down. But there's a few. Yeah, wait, guys. Wait. There's nothing going to hurt you if you wait. It's only going to hurt if you jump in now, and don't buy the dip. Get away from the poisonous attitudes and start trying to get some head around even just some small technical analysis. Now, I will chuck this one out there. I know people that use averages and all that, but the volume has changed. So averages are always going to look like dog's breakfast at the moment, I think. The volume has significantly changed. Yeah, where's Bitcoin? One more go at Bitcoin and I'm out of here. NBN people, don't come to Australia. New Zealand has got Giga City. Anything's got to be better than this shit. Come on. There we go. Now, Middle East is Bittrex, but, you know, yes. The only real volume that seems to be coming is after a major drop. And then there's a small pump. And then it comes back again. Especially, look at that volume. The volume's down. Here it kind of evens itself out. And that's where it comes back out. But now it starts to taper off to the point where any play is going to move it. Yeah, volume is what people aren't talking about. They're talking about averages and this, that, and the other. And even my averages, I've tried to adjust. And if you can see, look, I know they're just squiggly lines and shit. But I make my own adjustments until it fits, because you can't just go with a stock standard approach. Sometimes you got to go, wait, it's obvious that it's above here and it's going up. And even what we want to do is kind of knock out the false positives. And then what I've noticed is once it started to, you know, this is my way of drawing averages. I'm not a big fan of them, and I'm not a big fan of one indicator over another. But I am a big freaking fan of have a look at the picture, people. Down. Prices are down. Alright? I'm going to cut out. I've just been angry man for a while. I'll let you go. Hooroo from Oz. Mind you, shout out, correct me, by all means, make me a better person, make me a better crypto person. Hopefully you become a better crypto person by taking something out of this. Share the knowledge, share the love, share the money. Alright, catch up with you. Enjoy.